Okay, so it's been a few days since I've looked at this. Today's September 8th, and I last worked on this September 4th. But we're talking about something possibly very useful for data analytics, which is reading in a CSV file, storing the different columns of data in a structure called tweet record in this case, and then parsing it up into pieces using a delimiter, and then doing some analytics on it, like finding the longest tweet that Elon Musk, for example, has ever done, stuff like this, or finding the person that he tweets at most commonly. And let me uh, let me remind myself of what this data looked like. And It's in my downloads folder, and if I drag it into Visual Studio, this works, which is a good thing to do. Interestingly, Visual Studio is intelligent enough to make a link clickable and turn the like syntax highlighting, so to speak. Give a blue color here. Can we zoom out? Yeah. Now we've also zoomed out my CPP file, which is a little irritating, but here we go. So we got the tweet ID number 0 and the time that he made it. And then, so 8 p.m. or 8:08 p.m. with 16 seconds on December 30th of 2018. This is who he tweeted at, two people in this case. Um, and all the fields are delimited by commas. So this, what I just highlighted is one tweet, and then there's square brackets, which again, I didn't make this data, so I guess the person who made this data just made this choice to kind of suggest an empty array or something like this. The number 0, can't remember what that was, but I think this is the number of retweets. I can't remember, but yeah, I put it in here. It's whether or not there's a link to a photo, yeah, and whether or not there's a link to a video. Well, it's not whether or not because it's not a Boolean, but um, this is not true and false, so it's not a Boolean. But yeah, the confusion comes in on this data set because this is photo length field and this is video length field. And if you're going to use a 0 and a square bracket, like use a 0 for both or use a square bracket for both. But anyways, there are just some imperfect things in this data. And also there's some interesting characters like emojis, which might there's some interesting things that happen with ASCII and Unicode and C++. But let's go back to where we were at uh, and just run the program. I threw an error at some point, and it was at some point in here. Um, an invalid, let's see, beware of invalid STOI argument errors here. Okay, and I think that's what I generated. I set a breakpoint right here after this int a business. I was being a little bit silly. I should have probably just said, did it work? Are we going to reach this line and read in all of the records? And I'm going to also go ahead and add this, make an array of records because it's a good idea. I'm going to call it records, and we are going to pushback, call pushback. This did it work? I was meaning to put that like after the entire loop, like all of the lines of the file have been obtained, and then we check, did it work? So let's go records, pushback, current record, which is the expected data type for this, because if you open up parentheses, it expects a data type, which is called the tweet record. If you go, just to give a simpler example and hopefully not get too off track, if we got like int nums, and we go nums dot pushback, it expects an integer right there. The double ampersand is a complicated thing. It's called an R value. But if we go, let's not get into that because it's a complicated thing. I'm just pointing it out because it does not mean and, like int and underscore VAL value. And it also does not mean and right there either. But those are complexities that it's unlikely that most people are going to be interested in. But you call pushback and you say a number, or you could like, declare a variable for that number, like int a is equal to 1, and then say num.pushback a. Either of these approaches will work. Uh, Pushback just means insert the value into the back of the array. All right. There's also something called push front, which behaves in the opposite way, which we'll talk about that in the data structures class, not this class. All right, so pushback, it expects a tweet record, and current record is a tweet record data type. If you try to push back the value 1, this is going to be a problem because 1 is just a single integer. It's not an entire tweet record. All right, so all right, let's maybe we set a breakpoint right there. That's actually a pretty good idea here. How much data do I have? I have like 100 rows, like 50 rows of data going down to record number 48. And I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is, and I think it is that has to do with this guy right here. What happens whenever a field has a comma like this? Like this this photo link is it's two photo links, of course, because those are two different JPEG files. PBS website, public broadcast system, something something ending in nu.jpg, something ending in 16.jpg. So this is a problem, right? Because the getLine function that I used, um, well, the getLine function this guy will be okay because the default delimiter, this right here is the \n, is the new line character, but this split record with string stream is acting on the comma character as its delimiter, so it's a problem. This right there is a problem, and one way to it's not the greatest solution, but a simple way to fix this is to delete that, um, and to clean up your data and to place a restriction and say only one link per photo link is an option. I'm going to highlight that and we'll keep it in our back pocket. This is some pretty detailed debugging, which is a very good thing for people to learn, of course. Remember, all that this function does, I think I went over it in the first video, is it returns a vector of strings, as you can see here, right there. That's its return type. I used automatic type deduction, but if you hover on the auto, it will display the data type. So just to let me do a simple demonstration of this first that's unrelated to the data analytics, kind of like what I just did with the vector of numbers a minute ago. What happens if you feed this? So I called it record, but what if I just put in ABC, comma, DE, comma, FG, and I split based on the character, the delimiter, which is a comma in this case. It doesn't need to be a comma. We could do this instead. I guess this looks a little strange, but maybe it's fun to see. Maybe it's kind of interesting. Maybe I call this fields, like because this is one field, and then BC comma DE is another field. If we're splitting based on the dot delimiter, and FG is the final field. Maybe we don't say fields, actually, we say like split tokens. Yeah, that's a nice programmer language, tokens. Let's see. Let's just set a breakpoint here and run and see what happens. I'm gonna hover with my mouse over this, and we'll see what values are in this. It's a vector of strings, right? So we expect like some form of this string like split into pieces. And again, this is related to this thing that programmers often talk about, which is called parsing. So I'm going to say step over, maybe we say step into. So step into, you can see some detail on what this function does, but I don't want a bunch of detail, so I'm going to say step out. You can examine this in detail if you would like. The step out will step back to the Musk data analytics.cpp file, but we hopped over to the file where this is defined, which I think I called it utils maybe. Oh no, I put it up here above the main function. Okay, so uh let's see, what is split tokens? It is a, and then we saw the dot, so the first at index 0 right here, 0, and the square brackets mean that's an index. So we see A is the first string. You might say it's a character, so it should use single quotes, but A is also a string. It can be regarded as a string. It's a little bit wasteful and takes up more space, but that's okay in certain instances. So now we got B, C, comma, D, E, and then we encountered the next dot, and then the final field at index 2, or the third position, see the size is equal to 3, we see FG. So that's just a simple demonstration of what that split function does, and it makes good sense. You know, if you want to split it, I don't know, maybe one more thing. I'm just going to overwrite this, and this will make more, it's like a less strange example that I just randomly thought up. So if we want to split based on the space character, this will return first name at index 0, second middle name at index 1, and last name at index 3, or index 2, third position. So if we rerun this and we just say step over, this right here says step over. Yeah. We say step over, so we're not interested in stepping into the function definition. We just step over it. Um, we don't care about perhaps we don't care about the nitty-gritty details of what exactly goes on there. We just take our output, and there it is. First name, middle name, last name, split. Okay, so that's just it's intended to demystify what's going on right here. So the current line is going to be like the first time through the while loop, we loop while getLine is getting something from the input file, which is this file path on my machine. I think, yeah, if you try to run this code on your own machine, like by cloning from GitHub, that will not work because I did not push this CSV file to GitHub. Um, but that's not a huge limitation, I suppose. You could make up your own data. Yeah. Or download it. Just follow the steps that I did. But there was a lot more data in that Musk tweets, and I deleted a bunch of it from the GitHub version. Okay, let's get on with this program. All right, so we hit a breakpoint because I set the breakpoint. Now current record, if we look at it, we got the tweet number 0, the date. That looks like a legitimate date and time. We got the tweet, and then we got photo link is empty, nothing there, which again, somebody made that choice to use square brackets rather than 0. 0 means like false, perhaps. So maybe video link should be a string, not a Boolean, right? Because if there is a video link, it should be https colon forward slash blah 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 website thing. The number of likes, that looks good. So let's go continue. And are we getting, so I just hit this button right here with my mouse. Now the second row that we expect should be this guy right here. Something about the matrix. Okay. So are we seeing that? We yeah. Okay. So look at this. This is tricky and it's a problem. And I'm probably just gonna abandon this data set actually. The students in my class probably get the point of how to do this assignment at this point. Um, but I did not vet this data. So look at this. There's a comma right there. So uh, and as a result of that, uh, when we hover on current record, here's the tweet number is one, that looks good. The date is that date, that looks good. You know, there's not anything funny going on in this. There's not like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which is not a date usually. Um, so we got a backslash character, which was a little bit, oh, we got backslash double quote. Okay. So that makes sense because just to give a lackluster explanation, this is the way that, well, I'm actually not sure why that's appearing. But anyways, it's the real problem here is that the photo link got set to UX at the matrix, when in fact the photo link should be the square brackets, and the video link should be zero, and the number of likes should be 14,452. So is the number of likes correct? Let's check that. No, it's not. It got set to zero because um, I feel like I'm probably trying to over-explain things at this point, and people who are following along with me are, you know, it's obvious what went wrong because we're splitting based on the comma delimiter. So we could go through this data set like what I was talking about earlier. Like we could take this guy and delete it, you know, and that problem won't occur. Or but we're already off by one because we have a comma here. So I'm not going to try to do anything fancy, like say if you're within double quotes, if you see a comma, then don't work, like don't split. But you can probably see some of the potential complication here. It's data analytics can be quite a challenging field. But, so I just deleted that the comma, and I'm going to right click and go save. Okay, so now we are going to get up to the number of likes correctly. So if I rerun this, so first we got the current record, which is tweet number zero. There was no problem with that guy. But if we go continue, current record is tweet number one. So we're on to the second row of data now. And if we hover, we should, yeah, we see 14,452. So turns out if you take Dayquil, you exit the matrix. Okay. So I deleted that comma between take and Dayquil, which makes the sentence, its grammar gets screwed up, you know. Um, but so yeah, I think I'm not gonna bother like doing real t data analytics on this data set. But I don't know, I'll just delete it. I'm not gonna fix all of the problems in this, all the potential problems that I didn't even see down below, where people do things like enter a comma right here or something like this, or perhaps for some reason they enter a comma right there. That's unlikely, but what if somebody has like a comma in their username or something like this? This is also, or their Twitter handle. It's also a potential problem. All right, so now that I've got less data, I think that this might it will go smoother. Now, once again, we're going to encounter a problem right here, and we'll see that. So let's go continue a couple times, and whenever you hit continue in this instance, it is uh, whenever I hit continue, we're going to go down to the open brace, and then we're going to say, are we still getting lines from the file? And we just got this line, so yes, we got this line to go, and all these ones down below. So I'm going to hit continue. Uh, how many times am I going to hit continue? If I do what I'm doing, it's going to be uh, one. And then this is the first loop iteration. I hit continue to get this one, and then again, and again, and again, and again. So like six times. All right, so let's go continue and let's look at current record. And we got a number of likes there, which is reasonable. And if I hit continue again, we got invalid string to integer argument. So what was the problem there? This is a very nice thing to be checking out. Very, this is detailed debugging, which I think is a very valuable experience to have. Okay, so we're on tweet number one because I just hit continue and we threw an error if I hit continue again. So let me take smaller steps. So you see this arrow right here. If I go step, we're going to hit the close brace of the while loop. Line 73 is the next line that will get executed as that little tooltip says. So we step. Are we getting lines? What is the line? It is tweet number two, the date, excited to have Larry Ellis and blah, blah, blah. Now, as I said, there's a problem here in the photo link because there are two. I mean, Twitter gives you the freedom to post multiple photo links, but this program is limited. My program is limited because it has a comma as the splitter, the delimiter. So that is going to be a problem. Split record, actually, this is quite a nice thing to see. I haven't shown this, but every previous loop iteration, the previous two loop iterations, the split record had a size which corresponded to the number of fields here. One, two, three, four, five, six. So I could actually do something like this. I could say if split record dot size is not equal to six, we could do something like this, underscore underscore debug break, and we could say standard cout, um, the um, the number of fields is not as expected, six. Okay, that's not a super informative comment, but yeah, this is not the best way to do this. The better way is to do something called throwing exceptions, but we'll talk about that later in fundamentals too. All right, but this will actually um, draw my eye to it. Let me leave this breakpoint here. The debug break is functioning similarly to setting a breakpoint right there, but I guess I'm just doing it with code. So if I run and go continue, it's going to throw this exception because the split record size is 7, because tweet number two, that looks good. The date looks good. The tweet looks good, or it looks reasonable. It's not anything, it looks reasonable. The and ampersand business, I think that's a Twitter thing. I'm not sure what that means. Um, I'm curious now, but okay. Now, what is field number three? I can't remember. It's the third. Let's see, tweet number, date, tweet. It's a photo link, right? Um, so the square brackets means it's an empty photo link. That no photo link was supplied. So let's see. Yeah, that makes sense as well. Then, okay, but then we see two different uh photo links. Sorry, is field three, let's see, tweet number, date, tweet, photo link. Tweet number, date, tweet, photo link. So let's look at that third row. Oh yeah, and these are video link. I don't know. Um, I'm getting into more detail on this than I wanted to. So it's easier to read this if you break it into an Excel spreadsheet, if you open it up in an Excel spreadsheet, because it will put things in different columns, like the spacing will be looking like, every time the formatting is just easier to understand. Okay. Um, Okay, but I just wanted to do some simple analytics based on this, so I'm just struggling to get the file cleaned up before we do simple data analytics. I'm again I'm tempted to just replace all this with a simpler data set, but that would be redoing lots of work. But it's good to see this because it makes people who do data analytics have a healthy appreciation for that job. Okay, so I'm gonna run. I deleted one of the problems, which is the fact that there was more than one photo link. So let's see, we're on current. Yeah. All right. So number of likes got set to 0. Did it have 0? Yeah, it did. Yeah. So nobody liked that. Is that sad? Okay. Do we see any problems in this line? Looks looks nice and simple, relatively. There's not much text here. Okay, it looks fine. And I think we can miss subtle things. I think that that's also fine. And I think, again, by fine, I mean there's not anything like this in here, something like that. Okay, so I think that's fine. I'm gonna save that. Okay, okay. I think, all right, let's just go. And what are we on now? Current record tweet number 5. Was that the last one? Yes. Okay. So now what is the contents of records? It's got 5 tweets in it, and they are here. Tweet number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the information is here. You see the dot, dot, dot. That means not all the information can be displayed because there's not enough space. But there it is. If we open that up, 14452, let's check out this. Looks reasonable. We got the number of likes set to 3750, and we're not throwing any invalid string to integer argument errors. So we've got, now we're going to hit the end of the file. Okay, so we're not going to step to line 53, we're going to step to line 80 or maybe 78. Okay, yeah, we stepped to line 80 and we're finally going to print. Did it work? So yes, it did because we were able to get everything. But just to show what it looks like to do data analytics, we could calculate the average number of likes. And maybe we make a function to do that and we say double get average likes on tweet or something like that. Okay. And in order to, if we're going to do that, we want to pass this in as an input parameter. Um, Tweet record, let's pass by reference, which is what this means, so that we don't waste space making a copy. If you do this, that's called pass by value, and it potentially wastes space. It's not always the best idea to pass by reference, but it often is a good idea. Records, open up parentheses, we'll say double average likes if we want to be more informative. Return average likes. And we are going to do a calculation now. So we can say for const automatic type deduction by pass by reference record, or let's maybe sometimes if you say singular and plural like record and records, it could be a bit difficult, especially if you're like saying your code to yourself and not just typing it out. So maybe we say current record that is in the list of records. We say now we make an accumulator. Double sum is initialized to 0.0, and we say sum plus equals the current record dot, and that's a big thing, dot number of likes. Okay. Not we don't screw up and say like tweet number or tweet is definitely not tweet because if you were to say tweet is a string data type. You cannot take a string and add it to a double. It doesn't make a great deal of sense. But yeah, so instead of that, we'll say number of likes. And notice all the members of the struct were popping up there and that auto completion, which is a wonderful thing. And it's in alphabetical order: date, number of likes, photo, DNPTTV. So it's not in the same order that I put them in here. which might be a tricky thing. But let's just see if this is reasonable. The average that we get. Let's maybe set a breakpoint right there and then call the function. And so instead of saying did it work, we could say average light counts is colon, and then we call the get average likes on tweet and pass it records. And let's make a new line character at the end of that so that it looks a little nicer. Okay, so uninitialized local variable average likes counts on line 45. So I just didn't do this. So that the brace initializer syntax is similar to setting it equal to 0. Okay. All right, so now the warning will go away. And oh, yeah, I forgot to. So it's the sum divided by the number of records, which in this case we could do something like hard code the number of records and say it's equal to like 6 here, 0, 1 up to 5 is 6. But the better approach is to say records, not size. Because what happens if you decide I want another tweet to exist? You say something like this, you copy and you paste and you change this to some other number and you change this to a 6 and all that, all of a sudden if you had entered instead of this guy, if you had entered 6, then if you decide to add more rows of data, then that's a problem. This is just some magic number, and yeah, that is a much better approach. So the size is the number of elements in the array. All right, sometimes the green warning takes a minute to go away. If you close Visual Studio and reopen it, it usually dismisses that warning. It's if you type kind of fast, it can take a while to catch up to you, Visual Studio. Okay, yeah, so the warning has gone away for now at least. I think it should be permanently gone. Let's run. All right, so before we like hover, I did for a second there, but can we do a sanity check? Like this right here, can we estimate the number of likes on our own? 2,000, 14,000, 0, 500, 3,000, 700. I would say like an unreasonable average is like 100 million because obviously the average of the numbers there is not 100 million. But maybe the a reasonable value is like we got a 0 here, which is going to drop the average quite a lot. But maybe a reasonable average is like 2,000 or 3,000. Okay, what is it? 3,711. Yeah, 0.666. So you don't get fractional likes. So maybe you want to convert this to an integer instead. Um, it's not a big deal, but I am wasting a little bit of space. Maybe we return an integer instead, and we do something like this: cast to an integer. Um, yeah, I that's okay. Not the best approach, but all right. The average number of likes is 3,711. Okay. And yeah, hopefully that seems like an interesting thing to do.